That you've seen there, Senator Alli, who is the chairman, Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, joins us here in the studios this morning. Good morning, Senator. Thank you for coming today.
Morning.
Well, we certainly are in a very interesting time. I mean, it's always interesting after elections. Anytime after elections. So no matter what kind of amendments we've done previously, we always end up asking ourselves questions. So, but wait a minute, before you even delve deeper, why do you think that's the case, though? Why do we always have that?
Well, I must say this. There can be perfect legislation. After every legislation, as soon as you put it to practice, you see gaps. Especially when the power that's given to the judiciary is to interpret these laws. And they were not part of it while you were drafting it. It's like the judiciary will now read your mind and take a decision. Whether that is the mind of the drafters, whether it's not. That's the law.
That suggests that they seem to be getting it wrong in some areas.
No, I've not said so.
What are you suggesting then?
What I'm saying is that for every law, there will be, and let me quickly say this, we must praise the Ninth Assembly under Senator Lawan for coming out bold, passing that Electoral Act. It's a fundamental change in our electoral system. There's no doubt about it. And whatever we say, 2023 elections has been an improvement. Not an improvement on previous ones. And when we go to other climes where you say things are getting better, we still have the errors there as well.
So what to you would you say is the improvement?
The improvement, one, reverse machine. The powers of election in the electoral process has going to be taking more to the people. We haven't gotten there, but it's better. Beaver's machine is like a game changer, unlike the card reader. Card reader, when it does not work, you use incident forms, and we knew what people use that for. But as soon as you bypass the card reader, Beaver's this time, the election is null and void.
But Senator, you know, it has several people who will tell you that is not the experience that's not the way they're seeing this, because right now, we had reports for this last election of people who were snatching the Beavers machines. We had reports of where Beavers machine was bypassed for this last election. So we had reports.
If it was bypassed, as soon as you get to court, as soon as you get it to be nullified. And even if you never get to court, if you are able to bring it up to the collation officer, whether at whatever level, whether at local government or the state collation centers, then and when you'll be able to see that election would then be declared null and void for that particular polling unit.
But the
and what we see is, we see is, we beam a searchlight, like for example, there are about 100 polling units, and we see where the problematic areas or where the issues are just about 5 or 10 out of 100. People will be looking at that, and by the time we get to court, the court will now say there's substantial compliance. And if you have elections in 95 out of 100.
But Senator, you know, when you speak about the Beavers machine as being some of the improvements, the reason why I say
it's a game changer as far as we are concerned.
Yeah, but you know, for those who actually were upbeat about the last general elections, from what we gathered, what we spoke to them, you could disagree or not, is that they didn't see the Beavers machine as mutually exclusive. They thought the Beavers machine and the IREV, uploading those results on IREV so they can see that. So when it came to the point of the IRF, people never made reference to the Beavers machine because they thought, what am I doing with Beavers machine? If you can't upload for us to see that transparency. So when that was not being done, all of the confidence, all of this talk about being a game changer nosedived.
That's one of the things that we're going to do moving forward. Under the current law, it's not mandatory for INEC to upload.
It's not mandatory?
It's not mandatory. That's what the courts have said. It's not the law.
Whoa. I thought you were going to say it will be mandatory for INEC.
Under the current one, it is not.
No, that's because...
But as we are going forward, it's going to be mandatory. That's one of the things that we're going to do.
To make it mandatory for them to upload.
Yes.
What would the components of that amendment be?
Well, several things.
Particularly on this uploading.
It's just to ask INEC to make sure that we improve on our technology and ensure that everything is there. One other thing that we also must look at is the fact that, after the first elections, INEC had to go back, say they wanted to reconfigure the machines for gubernatorial elections.
Yes.
We are looking at the situation, asking INEC to improve on it to ensure that the machine can store data. And 2, 3, 4 elections, so that whenever you want to retrieve, you can easily get that. You may not have to go and reconfigure, and by the time you get to court, there won't be anything there again, like we had in the last elections. INEC there was a court case where a decision was taken that INEC had the powers to go and reconfigure.
So, is the Senate going to leverage or invite a lot of ICT experts? Because several people, when that amendment was done and the first results came through, several people thought some of these are not even encrypted, that they could even be hacked into. So they thought there are levels of encryption that INEC can actually embark upon. So will the Senate be considering that as well?
The joint committee, because we're working together, joint committee on the Electoral Matters of the House and the Senate, we are trying to, that's the job of INEC to do. We will encourage them to ensure that it is done. And that's why what we're going to do this time around, and that's why we have started early, so that it won't be a station where elections or primaries are about commencing when we pass the law. It won't be in a hurry. I want to assure you, by the grace of God, before the next year, we must have had something in place for Nigerians to see. And in doing that, we are going to ensure that we involve all stakeholders.
So that means that many of the guidelines that INEC had, the Senate, the National Assembly will now adopt some of those guidelines and make them law.
INEC will still have powers to make guidelines.
Yeah, because
you can't put everything here.
Because part of those guidelines was uploading the results on IREV, which many people looked up to. When they said they were going to do that, it never happened.
But INEC also said there were about 2,000 attempts at hacking a system. That's also a possibility. You just alluded to that while you are talking now.
No, that as in being encrypted. But they didn't succeed.
They didn't succeed. Maybe they didn't succeed. Maybe that was what INEC saw, and they refused to upload real time. It wasn't that the results were not uploaded.
Well, INEC didn't say so. For the presidential, it was not. For the governorship, they saw some things. So they thought that that's why many people
for the National Assembly elections, it was uploaded.
Yeah, but for the presidential, it was presidential.
Some of it not real time. Yeah. Presidential, it was not.
So
but we're going to look at that.
So would you now make it real time?
Yes.
Which is the
that's what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to do now.
Across board.
Yes, across all board.
So if the Senate goes ahead with that particular one, is it such that I know that there'll be robust debates both on the Senate and National Assembly,
and even the people.
The people as well.
To get people involved in, and by 28th of this month, we're having a town hall in Abuja here, inviting citizens to come and clear out their mind on the experience in the last elections. Then we'll go along. And we also have to go to all the zones. We're not just going to stay in Abuja here. We're going to all the zones in Nigeria. Maybe once, twice, depending on how we're able to do about it.
Because for those who will be skeptical about, one thing to have public hearing, another thing to factor in some of the key observations of this public hearing into the amendment, such that you could always have people say, okay.
We in the 10th Senate are interested in ensuring that we represent the people well. If you go, we had a retreat in Lagos just last week. We have had our positions. We are going to go to that place and let people know these are the areas where you can touch. Not that you cannot speak on other places, but there are some critical areas where we say we have realized, in view of the recent decisions of the courts, that there are issues. And those are places that we'll look at. And when people come, and that's if we find out that that's the aggregate opinion of Nigerians, that's what we're going to do.
Okay, because part of the expectation of the people, they want to see that at every level of
there's some transparency.
This election, transparency.
That's
and then BVAS and the IRF must correspond. Because now, these days, all sorts of things happen with the beavers, with the accredited number.
But in my own elections, beavers and IRF corresponded. There was no problem.
But
when we got to court, we were able to compare the two. But that was taken to court.
I know you know that there are several other cases.
There will be, no doubt about it.
It did not correspond.
There may be.
Where IRF was never even a factor in some of those areas. So these are the things that you'd expect that to happen. But Senator, when you started out and you said, we can't have a perfect election.
Perfect legislation.
Perfect legislation. Wait, if you not have perfect legislation, does that then mean that you can have a perfect election without a perfect legislation?
No. Perfect is relative. Even when we go to US, all these places, we still have issues with the elections. What is most important is to ensure that the yearnings of the people, their expectations are met. And when we say meeting the expectations of the people, you can't meet it 100%. It won't be 100% of the people that will. But as soon as you're able to get 90, there'll be less. But if you don't get it right, then that's when you get to hear so many things.
One other key thing that was observed for that election is that the Electoral Act says where, INEC also say that time and again, where there is violence, those elections will not count. But we know how this can be easily manipulated. So we thought, but this is basic, such that all I need to do as a candidate, just cause violence in my opponent's place, and it will be cancelled. So I thought they would have seen these things as easy, or was it deliberate?
It's not as easy as you're saying it.
Oh.
We also have the involvement of security agencies. Don't just go to a place and disrupt elections. It's not easy on election days to disrupt elections. Because as soon as you finish, before you move from steps, from 100 meters thereabout, you get to see some security agencies. They're all over. Except in very remote places, like one of the resource persons at the last retreat said, they had to drive about over an hour into the bush. Even in between the polling units and there are it's all inside the bush. So anything could have happened. But these are isolated cases, which as we go along, will get even right.
So now,
because in such places, if it's a situation where you have security agencies at that polling units, however remote, and as soon as elections are over, the thing is transmitted through the beavers, everything is uploaded. Whatever you do with your ballot papers don't have any effect.
So this amendment, we expect to see that because the Electoral Act says, I think in the case where if officials of the commission come very late, and we know that there's a time limit for you to start the election and end. So if they appear at the venue very late, elections
can be shifted to
the next day.
That's his deal.
So are we going to have the same principle that if there's violence in some area, we have to make sure the election holds, however possible?
Let's listen to our people, the Nigerians. Next time we go around, we'll be able to.
Well, that's one thing that we can consider.
Yes.
Okay. Will there be any consideration for security? Because several people always seem to say security, even INEC officials.
There can't be security. There can't be elections without security.
No. In terms of if they are found to be doing the wrong things, should there be specific mention? Because the last elections where they say, look, even the person that had pre-failed election results was an official of the commission. So those kind of things happening.
The last Senate passed the Electoral Offences Commission bill, and it was sent to the House for concurrence. Because the time was late, we are trying to consider it. But let me be honest with you. Some people are believing that we're having too many commissions. You have that as a commission again. But then what's the job of the police? Why don't you strengthen the police and ensure that they're able to tackle such? Because that's an additional commission. That's thinking of some people.
Senator, it's not the same Senate, the same National Assembly, that the question about police reforms Even though they came up with the Police Act updated on it, look at where we still are. People keep talking about having a police that reflects the will, impression, and expectation of the people. You can call multi-layer policing, for instance. Why can't that be a huge consideration?
There's nothing wrong in that. It's part of what we're going to consider. But the truth is, some people believe we should have that commission. Some feel, no, let's strengthen the police to ensure that that is done.
My colleagues went to observe elections in West Africa here, Liberia, and they had okay, you were there. So fantastic. So you saw the 19 million registered voters. You saw the attitude of the politicians.
Yes.
And you saw how they don't have as much amendments as we have had, but the elections. I mean, from what you saw, if we had that kind of atmosphere here, you prefer you don't mind that.
I don't. Let me quickly say this. Look at the population of that country compared to Nigeria. That is one. Two, I must be honest with you, they are patriotic. So a situation where after voting, people will just go and you then begin to ask him, where are you going? He said, I voted, I'm going to my house. Are you not going to wait and see the thing counted? He said, my agent is there. Are you sure he's not going to be compromised? He said, no problem, I have confidence in him. But here in Nigeria, if you don't look well, your agent is a problem. So these are our culture. These are things that some of the things that we want to consider.
How? With the Electoral Act?
Yes, Electoral Act and talking to the people.
So that means is that to say they're considering legislating the people's attitude?
You cannot do that. But we need to do a lot of letting the government see that we need a different orientation. Also, let me quickly say this about Liberia. That's their first election that the country organized by itself. And when we got there, colleague will tell you, one of the persons who came to address us is the army spokesperson. He said they are tired of war. They do not want any problem again. It's like they are ready, that they want their country to move forward. But I think our experience of the last civil war here, a lot of people who are just coming up do not know about it.
We don't seem to have been taught any lesson.
At all.
Maybe they didn't teach the Civil War lessons in schools. We didn't take active steps.
History is not being taught in school again. These are the kind of problems that we have. But over there, they felt, in fact, one of them said, we don't want Nigerians to come and conduct our affairs. It means that they knew that they were it's like being spoon-fed. There are things that are being done for them. But this time around, this is the first election they're organizing on their own. So they sought assistance, technical, all from several, from Nigeria, ECOWAS, the EU. But then, they are organizing it by themselves.
Well, Senator, when you look at the poverty figures in the country, you would have thought we should be tired of all of this data. World Poverty Clock indicating that Nigeria, 71 million people, extremely poor. And the data from Bureau of Statistics indicating that 133 million thereabouts, multidimensionally poor. And the former president, the clock there, you can see, former president, only this morning when we were referencing and talking about democracy, a Western-style democracy not working. And some will say, well,
I love when I
this Electoral Act matter might be one of the problems that we're having. Politicians seem to be running riot. Why did you laugh when you heard it?
One, I was surprised that Baba could say that.
Why?
We're in this country, we had the election in do or die. He's not the same person. That's not why I'm here. But the truth is this, let me go back. Our poverty level is a big problem.
You're looking at the messenger, not the message.
Yes, they are both. You look at both, but you laugh when you hear the messenger, when you Look at the messenger.
Are you saying he doesn't have a point?
Well, I wouldn't say so. That's what I'm saying.
Would you say our democracy is working?
There has been some improvement, no doubt about it.
But from the figures there, are you happy with those figures?
Democracy, economy, are interrelated, but we look at them differently. And let me explain this. Poverty level in this country is very high. And that accounts for some of the problems, some of the electoral problems that you have. Because you talk about vote buying. If they decide that people should go and vote, and somebody decides that, like one of the research persons came, he said he got to a polling unit and he saw the polling officers, nobody goes there, and there were a lot of people around. What's happening? They were expecting him. And everybody was looking towards one direction. You know, felt, who is it? So he's a stranger. This one doesn't know what he's talking. So after some time, somebody came, did what he wanted to do, and people started going on the queue. Is that bad?
Let me bring in Ayo.
Senator, let me quickly take you back to the issue of reforms. And you also, of course, mentioned that you had a retreat over the weekend in Lagos. What are some of the highlights of that meeting that you had? If you can just quickly give us that.
We looked at the timing for elections and election petitions. We look at a lot of administrative issues that may not require legislation, but under the purview of INEC. No, yeah, anything again. Under the purview of INEC. In terms of legislation about election petitions, what we think is that all pre-election matters do end before the election. A situation where somebody would have won an election and the pre-election matter would get to the Supreme Court and you now say is the wrong person who is there and that person will leave. One, it's certainly going to affect the finances of our country and also the morale of the people. We're also looking at a situation where election petitions are concluded before swearing in. We are thinking of abridging the time within which to file and conclude election petitions so that somebody will not be sworn in, and that's what led us into having these off-cycle elections. What led us into having these off-cycle elections? There wouldn't have been any need for it if the person, we are able to conclude election petitions before the swearing in of the inauguration of the assembly as maybe. That is one. We also considered the movement to all the zones in Nigeria. To get to know the feelings of Nigerians about our legislation and what they hope to get from the legislation. We are looking at deployment of technology, one of which I've just discussed now. Improvement on the technology, because a lot of Nigerians were disappointed when the issue of the RF didn't work. But like we have just said now, it is not the law as it is. But going forward, we try to ensure that INEC does something about that. And also improve on the beavers retaining some data in its memory.
But some of those issues like you've already discussed, Senator. My apologies. Some of those issues you have actually quite significantly dealt with this morning. But, going back to a number of things that have happened in recent times and that Chamberlain has raised with you, how do we ensure that that doesn't happen again? You've talked about the fact that, pre-election matters and even post-election matters should be addressed squarely before the fellow is sworn in. You may want to tell us how you intend to go about that one. But look at what happened in Plateau State and in Kano State. In Plateau State, we understand that the candidate was not duly sponsored. In Kano, we understand that the governorship candidate was not, a member of that political party. And when we had this discussion yesterday, one of the questions that I was asking, that we were asking our guest was, isn't this something that should be under the purview of INEC? Doesn't INEC have the authority to disqualify a candidate because the candidate wasn't duly represented or is not a due member of a political party? One of the guests that we had said that in Kano State that they took the register of members of a political party, the political party of the governor, and they looked at it and they didn't find his name there within the time. Isn't that something INEC should have seen before we go into the elections? So what are those issues? How do you think that these kind of issues can be addressed?
One, there is a provision in the law that parties must submit their register of members 30 days before their primaries. They did. But we all know that most of these third four parties, where people just couldn't get tickets in the major parties and decided to go there. So, at the courts, their names are not on the register. One of the things that we may consider is that if parties don't submit, there should be some penalty for them, for the party itself. Because very many of the parties did not. Like INEC complained recently that there was a particular political party made them, one of the obstacle elections, made INEC to reprint ballot papers again after the judgment of the court. And when parties were expected to send names of agents, this party could not send a name of a single agent to the local government collation centers. What do you say about that? And that's why one of the things that we believe is that we should ensure that these issues are concluded before a particular time. One, pre-election matters must be concluded before we get to the election itself. Secondly, we're also considering a situation where you see the election petitions for National Assembly and state assemblies end at the Court of Appeal, whereas pre-election matters get up to Supreme Court. There must be a situation where we think of that. We also see gubernatorial petitions get up to Supreme Court. We are thinking of why that, because there could be problems in our law, like what has happened in Plateau now. If the Supreme Court decides otherwise, then somebody would have benefited, some other people would have suffered. So these issues are things that we tried to consider. All right,
Senator,
I'm believing that after talking to Nigeria, we are going to move forward.
Okay.
One of the things is also that we are going to abridge the time within which to file and conclude petitions. When we are having some 2 years, we said, and we reduced it to 1 year. Say, it's not possible. Now we are doing it within 80 days. Within 180 days. In some other countries, within 14 days, 21 days, election petitions are concluded.
Okay. Well, Senator,
just one last if INEC is able to upload all the results, and you have everything. And somebody also suggested at the retreat, one of our resource persons, that as soon as elections are concluded, within 14 days, INEC must supply all the tribunals, all the election results. So a situation where you have to go to INEC, you need this, it will not be there.
Okay.
You can easily have access to it at the courts, at the tribunals, and there won't be any problem.
Talking about INEC, Senator.
So these are some of the things that we did.
Talking about INEC, if you can hear me.
But we're still going to go and talk to Nigerians.
Yeah.
Hear their feelings. what they feel.
We'll wait for how that process is going to go, Senator. But talking about INEC, there are concerns. Chamberlain raised one of those issues about election, or was it you that even raised it, about election petitions tribunal or election petitions commission. So the issues have occurred over the years of people asking whether or not INEC is...
Electoral Offences Commission.
Yes, whether INEC is over-bloated. Do you think INEC is over-bloated? Do you think INEC needs to be, broken down? Is that something that you are also considering?
Yes, majority of Nigerians believe that INEC should be unbundled. Even INEC believes so itself. It has been burdened with so many things. And people are considering having political parties, legislation and management, some electoral offences bill. But I also believe that another person suggested the limitation commission. I said, no, that is getting too much. My opinion anyway, because the issue of delimitation of constituencies could be done by INEC, National Population Commission, and the National Boundary Commission. So we don't need to have a commission, another commission for that. And that's why I said, if you have to have commission for everything, we have too many commissions in Nigeria.
What will the Senate or the National Assembly do? Or what do you think should be done about internal democracy in political parties?
Well, it depends on the way you look at it. Majority of people in the Progressive Party believe that their tradition is that leadership will nominate the best candidate to them. In the Conservative Party, they believe that you must go through some other process. And ever since, over the years, somebody who has been a beneficiary of what we call selection, some other people will refer to it as imposition. I don't agree. It's not imposition. Because it's the leaders of the party that have been relating with these people. And they will know the fact that somebody comes to them and has a lot of money and can get his way through primaries does not mean that he's going to be the best person, best candidate for the party. The party leadership must always be involved. That's my belief.
In what way?
They know, and you know, leadership is at different levels. At the ward, local, state. A situation where, for example, somebody just comes around, that being part of what they have been doing before, and came in with a lot of money, went into the primaries, was able to pay his way through, gets into office, and decided not to do the bidding of the populace. It's the party's image that will be affected, not just that person. That's the reason given by those. And those who believe that we must strengthen what we need to do about internal democracy. Like the Supreme Court said, whatever is happening in the party is an internal matter for them. What we only need to do is to ensure that they do things right within their system.
Speaking about doing things right, Senator, just one more thing before we go. As a senator representing your constituency, who are looking up to you to ensure that you not only represent them, but ensure that right things are done, ensure there's transparency in the system. Now you're talking about electoral reforms because you seem to at least agree with the train of thought that we should do the right things in this country. So personally, as a senator, what do you think of the confirmation of some of those members, the resident electoral commissioners who are affiliated to political parties?
Well, let me say this. What do you term affiliation? If I'm a member of a political party, up until June this year, and I decided I'm not playing politics again, I resigned from membership of that party. And I decided I want to go alone. Does that make me a member of the party today?
What does going alone know?
What we should do, and what one of the things that we consider that our retreat is that nomination of rec and things, people are believing that should not be left to the president alone. That we should have it should be advertised. A national a body like the National Judicial Council will collate, sieve, and make recommendations about 3 people or more to the president, after which such will now be sent to the Senate. Some people believe that immediately after Judicial Council, it must be sent to the Senate. Senate to pick one out of the three.
Is it because
we are believing that it should not just be people, the president alone nominating? That's the thinking of most Nigerians today.
Even that the system is, there's supposed to be checks and balance. Is it that the Senate could not say no?
No, that's
to some of those names or to the president.
Okay, let me give you an example. The last one that was done were 10 resident electoral commissioners. If you are having complaints, maybe only 2.
No, Mr. Fadana was here. He said about 4 of them
are
attached to political parties.
That cannot be established. Even the civil society organizations complained about 2. And those ones claimed that there were no more parties. There were one is not a card-carrying member of any party, cannot be seen to be a card-carrying member. They have a sympathy.
When did that one stop being a member of a political party?
It was never. It cannot. Do you know whether I'm a member of a court party now? I'm a member of APC. And you know Nigerians.
Yeah, but there was one that was clearly seen as a member of APC.
Haven't been, he has held positions before. He held positions, let's get it, right from the civil service up to a particular point. If you are very good, you became a permanent secretary, head of service, and people believe you are good, must it be politicians that, are we all the appointees that we have today, are they all politicians?
Is he the only one that can do the job?
He's not.
He was seen clearly being welcomed to the political party. He's seen wearing the attire of the political party, signaling his unalloyed commitment to the political party.
When he now got to the committee and said, no, I have ceased to be a member of a political party.
When did he cease? Do you know?
He said it was more than 6 months ago, 5-6 months ago.
So the Senate took his word for it. No way to check and confirm.
Well, if there's anything...
Is that the way they screen?
No!
Why did they refer it to the committee? Why committee of a whole?
Well, that was the thinking of the committee at that time. Such things like that now will not go to the committee because at that time committees have not been...
No, but there's precedent. Usually goes to the committee.
Committees have not been inaugurated.
So why the rush?
Committees have not been, and not just that INEC.
But you know, it came across as though they were rushed.
Well, that's the thinking. You may think so.
Do you think so?
I don't think so. Like there are other nominees that have been.
So they couldn't wait for the committee to be appointed, to be put in place.
Other nominees that have been sent by the president were also screened by the committee of the whole for other positions.
So do you
not just
does it matter what the people think of these nominations?
Does because people have put us there.
But you don't seem to agree with it because many of them think no. It doesn't come across to them as these people can be the umpire. They can be objective.
We are.
They suddenly think that if I'm seeing being in a place for a long time.
You mentioned somebody now. I said
one was being a commissioner, the other one was being a member. So, and they're supposed to be
working from the civil service, from the private sector. Somebody who has.
So you don't think anything's wrong with that then?
Well, like I've just told you before now, we can't get it all right. If you're having 10 people and people are complaining about 1 or 2, you can't get it right all the time.
So why can't we just, if they're complaining on this 1 or 2, take these 2 out so we're seen to be free and fair to people?
If my committee says no, it was the chair of the Senate, don't worry. Some other time, as we go forward, now that when they come before the committee, maybe we'll look at it.
So even if these people did it, the Senate did it, and they noticed,
wait a minute.
Yeah, so even the Senate did it, and they noticed that, wait a minute, if people are complaining about this, what's the big deal? They're not the only ones that can, you know what? In order for us to be seen to be objective, let's drop these 2, bring other 2.
Going forward, we'll look at that.
No, why go for? Why not correct this one and say, okay, look, if they feel they can be objective, it's about you seen to be objective. So if that is impaired, you can't say you are. It's the people that will say you are. Because people will see you doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, we have not had anything from people after the screening.
I thought you said people said it was 1 or 2.
Before the screening, they came. They sent letters.
So what did you do about those 1 or 2?
They came, they were screened. It was on air.
Senator Sharafuddin Alli, Chairman Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We're back in a moment. Stay on with us.